To the side for this week. How are you feeling heading into the Reds game?
We've had a good week. Travelled back well, arrived back on Sunday from Tokyo, and trained well on Monday. It was just a light session. Trained really well Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's just with the short turnaround, we've done a little bit each day, but the boys have certainly prepared well, and now it's just about freshening them up and making sure that we're ready to go on Friday.
And Rory back in, Richie out?
Yeah, as I said last week, we've got 4 quality locks and young Darcy Swain who's developing. So Bev, had to deal with the news last week of missing out, and so we've rotated. Richie did some really good things up in Tokyo. Bev gets an opportunity this week, as does Rory, to obviously start with Carts.
Is it like for like with Richie and Rory, or are they different players?
They're pretty similar, obviously. But the way they play, they're both physical guys, good set piece. They love to impose themselves on a game, and I like that about any lock, and the both of them certainly do that. So, Richie had a really good pre-season, trained very well, performed well in trials and got his chance last week. Rory's coming back off the back of an injury and probably didn't get as many metres in his legs as he would have liked. So, we've done some extra work with him in the background, and he's ready to perform on Friday.
What about the Reds with Lucan Tui and also Scott Higginbotham? Does that weaken the side considerably that you're going to be playing on Friday night?
They lose Lucan Tui. They bring in Kane Douglas, who's won a Super Rugby competition, played I don't know how many tests, and then they've got one thing Queensland do really well is they produce good young footballers, and Liam Wright, I'm assuming, will come into the back row there, and he's been in that program for a number of years. So we're not too worried about what team the Reds send out. It's just early stages of the year, just us improving the areas we need to be better in.
So what you're saying, you're not underestimating at all the Queensland side, of disappointing at stages during that game against the Rebels, a couple of changes, loss of experienced players. You're saying that no room for taking them too easily or complacency?
No, absolutely not. I don't think you can do that any week of this competition. I think we saw last week, I think a lot of people were expecting us to turn up in Tokyo and just roll over and get 5 points without too many concerns. The Sun will certainly challenge us. They're a much better prepared side this year, good coaching group, improved their roster. They were a tough challenge, and the Reds will be exactly the same. The nature of going from five teams to 4, having to split the Western Force players, I think every team has stronger depth across the mark, and the Reds are first home game in Brisbane after what was probably a disappointing result for them. They'll certainly be up for this game, but we haven't read too much into that result. They had a red card and a yellow card where up until that point they were certainly well in the contest.
So you weren't surprised at all to find yourself where you did at half-time on Saturday?
No. Look, there were patches that first half where we would have liked to have executed better. But what I liked about the boys is that we remained calm and composed and just stuck to the task, and we were better in the second half and come away with 4 points. And round 1, I think if we had got on the plane and someone would have said, you can have your 4 points now, we probably would have taken it. So more than happy with how we approached the second half and come away with the result.
Did that hit-out change at all your preparation this week heading into the Reds match?
No, our schedule's planned well in advance. So it's we know that on the back of the JUCO 10s, the Sunshine Coast trial, going to Tokyo, the first 3 games on the road, that this period is about just making sure that our training's short and sharp, and come game time the boys are feeling fresh and ready to play.
What do you have to improve out of last week, Dan?
Oh, look, I think, we spoke early on, just our execution, we probably force things a little bit at times. But I think one thing we've reviewed is, whilst at times we want to play a direct game, when space is there and available, we've got to make sure that we identify that, communicate it to our playmakers, and use our skill, get the ball there. And there was passages of that in the second half, so we just need to see that more often. But it's more just about executing the plan that we take into the game, and then once we create opportunity, have the belief to take it.
Do the conditions play a role at all? Last week it was cold, dry, daytime game, probably going to be humid, a bit hotter. Do you have to try and condense it a little bit and not try and push it too much?
No, I think the conditions, it'll certainly be humid up there, but I think the rain's due to come in around Sunday up in Brisbane, so we should get reasonable conditions to play in, and we're going to be playing in greasy conditions in Canberra. You just got to make sure that you have that belief when you see the opportunity and confidence that we'll execute when it's there.
This double ticket initiative as well. I don't know. Do you get along to Raiders games when you can? Obviously, tough schedule.
Yeah, I've been a couple of times. Look, I love my rugby league. You know, being a Queensland boy growing up in North Queensland, there's plenty of it up there. So I think it's a great initiative to get along and support both teams because you know, Canberra's a much smaller community than the bigger cities. So we've got to help each other out, haven't we? And I think both the commercial teams from both organisations have done a great job to put this together. So I'll certainly be here.
What about, you said you're a Queensland boy, you grew up there, followed rugby league as well. What about Brad Thorne then? You would have been playing at the same time he was playing for the Broncos there. Did you ever cross paths with him? Or?
Not really. No, saw him in a gym a couple of times. And he's, yeah, you want to go to the other end of the gym when he's in there, that's for sure. But oh, look, he's won plenty, hasn't he, as a player? He's a guy that I'm sure he has a pretty simple approach to how he coaches, and he's got plenty of experience as a player. He was coached by some of the best coaches in both codes ever. So you know, I think it's he'll have them ready to go, and he's worked with a young group there, made some cultural changes, and as I said early on, I think we just worry about the Brumbies without worrying too much about the Reds.
Dan, the injury to Rob, is he facing about 10 to 12 weeks?
We're fairly optimistic there. He'll go in and have surgery this afternoon. The surgeon, you know, it's best case scenario, I think we're looking at about 6 to 8, worst case 10 to 12. So it's disappointing for Rob, but he's got a lot of Super Rugby games ahead of him.
Is it convenient having Lockie there ready to go with the try under his belt already?
Yeah, it's convenient having Lockie there. It's convenient having Lolo there as well. You know, it was like a number of positions, it was a really tough decision. Lolo was disappointed to miss out. Lockie was probably a little bit disappointed to be coming off the bench. Now they get their opportunity. So it's, you know, Lockie's a real point of difference player for us. He brings experience and just that he's, you know, football smarts that I think we saw in the second half there against the Sunwolves. So it's great to be able to bring someone like Lockie back into the team, and Lolo provides an enormous amount of energy and physicality off the bench. So we're really, whilst disappointed for Robbie, we're really excited about what those two boys will do.
Is that going to be a selection headache all year long, the back row?
Oh, when you've got 39 players, and at the moment I think there's 35 training, there's going to be headaches every week. So, you know, as I said, it's about managing those decisions, managing the players, and as long as you're giving them honest, regular feedback and communicating with them often, and they know where they sit within the team, then